What's up, Cooksy Mob? Hey, how we doing? So a lot of you guys don't like it when I talk about Ricky Carmichael. This video is not for you guys. If you don't like me talking about Ricky, just don't watch it. How about that? But I'm going to share my opinion. And listen, Ricky Carmichael is the greatest motocross and supercross rider combined ever. He's the GOAT. So with that resume, I understand why these executives think, well, he's a slam dunk. Let's just put him in the booth. This guy's won everything there is to win in the sport. 2 perfect seasons, 3 if you count overalls outdoors. He's got 5 Supercross championships. I mean, the guy's off the hook. Like, wow, on paper, why wouldn't we want this guy in there? But I'm going to tell you why. And this broadcast is brutal, and they're trying so hard to increase viewership. They're moving the 450s to the front to gain ratings. Meanwhile, this babbling idiot's out there stuck in a lozenge during the 250 main, and you can hear it like moving around in his mouth. It's gross. Anyway, so I went through Glendale and just kind of broke down some of the things that he does, and he actually had a really good night at Glendale. For Ricky, it was a good night, but that just gives you an idea how bad he is overall. I could do this every week, and he has some bad weeks, but this is just stuff that I caught from Glendale.
You need people like me so you can point your fucking fingers and say, that's the bad guy.
So he opens it by bumbling in his intro.
Contrary to that, what is it?
Guess what? You get to practice the intro. That's not the place where you should be bumbling. And now I'm not saying, now some of you guys, well, he's better than you. Okay, so if you're gonna put a guy who's barely better than a YouTuber in the booth at the highest level, you're setting the bar too low. Now, I'm not saying I could do it. I don't think I could. That's a hard job, and I would say a lot of ridiculous things. But there's people who can. Daniel Blair, whom he mercilessly ran out of that booth last year in politics. It was horrible. Grant Langston is really good. Paul Malin, really good. There's lots of qualified people who, Jason Thomas on the broadcast would do a way better job. I've heard him do as a color commentator for MXGP. Jason Thomas understands what it takes to kind of express yourself in a concise, clear, and he shares opinion.
Comes up short.
Ricky is king of the Captain Obvious. A guy Thrasher crashes, he goes, oh, he came up short and he crashed.
There's another look, watch. Boom, he comes up way short. Nothing he could do at that point. The back of the seat kicks the feet up off.
We need more from a color guy. He just doesn't understand how to break it down. He doesn't have a grasp on the English language the way that he should. And I'm not blaming him. He's probably been homeschooled. He's probably had everyone telling him how great he is his whole life. So for him not to understand that he sucks at this, I see where it comes from. But for the NBC executives and Feld to keep trotting him out there, you want to talk about ratings? That's what hurts ratings when you have this moron up there just, he can't even explain things the right way. He's not explaining to the people who know the sport, and he's confusing people who don't know the sport.
Machine, and great to see Beta coming into this dirt bike space. I think that's great.
And then he has this tendency, whenever Will or JT have a segment and they talk about something, he has to come in and almost like affirm and reassure that they were correct. I'm like, it's a kind of a narcissistic quality.
JT was telling us, so he's seen what works, what doesn't work, what works in certain conditions.
JT is far more educated than Ricky Carmichael. He speaks better.
To Will's point, when they're changing clutch parts like that and clutch plates, they're looking for what the
he over talks to make sure that he's the alpha, that he's the guy, because he's so insecure about that position, which is part of the reason he ran Daniel Blair off, because Daniel Blair was so good. Daniel didn't really allow him to do that. He always says stuff like,
the reason that I say that is because, and what I mean by that is just the reason I say that because, excuse me.
Reason I say that, or let me tell you why. Well, you don't need to, you shouldn't have to tell us, let me tell you why. We understand. You're telling us why. You told us why. You don't have to, he uses so many unnecessary words, it just drives me crazy. And this is during a main event when action's happening and he's eating up precious TV time with, excuse me, and you know, weird things like, let me explain here. What I mean by that was, well, if you have to explain what I meant by that was, maybe you should rephrase what you actually said.
Sure, don't want to speculate.
And he refuses to speculate. Just so you know, Ricky, your job is to speculate. You're in the booth. Lee Diffie is the play-by-play. He covers all the facts, takes you in a commercial, out of commercial. You're there because you're the greatest racer ever in this sport. So when something happens, we want your educated speculation on what happened. If you refuse to speculate, why are you even there? Because you can't talk.
Contrary to that.
And he can't do the things a normal announcer would do. What he can do is bring his opinion and bring in why things happen. And if he's wrong, he's wrong. That's okay. We understand that. We're not going to hold him to the fire. But maybe it's because he has so many conflicting interests with Triumph and Monster and all these different sponsors. He's so worried to anger anyone that he won't say anything. And now I have no problem with him getting sponsors and making money. I do it on this show. But if you're going to be in that position is a position that requires you. All the greatest color analysts, Troy Aikman, Jeff Burton, all these different color analysts, the one thing, they're not afraid to speak their mind. They're authentic and they call it out. And so if you want to be a good color analyst, start by speaking your mind and going with it.
That last chance, qualifier, last position, excuse me.
I mean, Jeff Emig was a stutterer his whole life, got with a professional speech therapist and became the announcer. That's pretty good. Guess what, Ricky? I think you might need to work with some sort of a speech person and maybe figure out how to articulate your words a little bit better.
This is almost a meeting of the Mayans here tonight with all these. Do the best that you can. That's what I want to see from these riders.
This is the most atrocious thing he does. It literally drives me crazy. You can't really hear it because my recording is not very good. But if you go back and listen to that 250 main event, Ricky starts it with like a Jolly Rancher or something in his mouth. You can hear him sucking on it. It's disgusting. I don't like when people talk to me on the phone with food in their mouth. So don't go on a broadcast as the color analyst with crap in your mouth. It's disgusting. This should be a fireable offense. Maybe he does it for his voice. Okay. Well, guess what? It sounds gross. Get yourself some tea or something else. Maybe hit the mute button and take a sip of something else because the lozenge or Jolly Rancher, whatever the hell it is, doesn't work.
Making his laps out here, putting the laps in. You better be on your A game. They have certainly brought their A game.
Now, every color analyst or analyst has a few things they say. Man, Ricky beats him to death, though, making the laps whenever he runs out of words. I get it. You guys will notice all the time I say so. That's what I'm thinking. That's what my word to fill in is. And I notice it and I try and work on it. But man, he always says, putting in the laps. And if I have to hear somebody brought their A game one more time, I'm going to lose my mind.
They have certainly brought their A game and it's great.
Guess what? It's Saturday night. It's the race. They all brought whatever A game they have. And then the other thing as an analyst, know the rules. And I understand. I don't want to throw him too hard under the bus on this one because it was hard. That light looked red from where I was sitting. And maybe his monitor made it look red. And the way that Levi Kitchen reacted made you think it was red.
Right? And so Levi does the right thing. Jordan's probably going to tell you he did.
But guess what? You're the analyst. You're the one that's supposed to tell us, no, it's yellow. When that's yellow, you can still jump. So you got that all wrong. And then he makes this weird argument for Jordan Smith. What are you talking about? What are you, a lawyer now?
Jordan's probably going to tell you he didn't see the red lights because he was behind Levi. Totally guessing right there, but that would be a fair argument.
Now this last one just made me laugh. I mean, I don't know if he drinks. I would be curious. I wouldn't be surprised if he sips on whiskey or something during these races because it progressively gets worse. Maybe he's getting tired. I don't know what it is, but towards the end of this, he just starts saying weird stuff like this point thing.
From a point standpoint, he'll pad that points lead with another point.
Bottom line is, if we want to grow this sport, first step, get Ricky out of the booth. You can change the race order all you want, but if you have a bumbling idiot that won't share opinions and says the kind of things that Ricky says on air and sucks on a Jolly Rancher, Come on, man. What is this, amateur hour? There's Pingree. There's so many different people who can do this job just because he has the greatest racing resume of all time. And I will not doubt that. He's the greatest racer of all time. He's the GOAT. I'm not taking anything away from that, nor am I saying I could actually do the job. I'm saying there's qualified people and he keeps running them off and flexing his resume on them. And someone just has, I don't know if he has pictures of somebody or what's going on with him that they keep him in this booth, but it's laughable. But I warned you guys before I started this video, that's what I was going to do. So if you don't like the Ricky talk and you watch this far and you're mad at me for talking about Ricky, look in the mirror. You shouldn't have watched the video. I warned you. So thanks, guys. Remember, subscribe. Check out those sponsors. CoachRobStore.com. Get your dietary books. Epic Garage Designs. You know they got all that cool stuff. Ride Strapped. And also, if you're shipping anything, use Precision Transport. But thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Have a great day.